Hey guys, Jamon here. I'm so sorry about the buzzy camera. I just wanted to jump on here really fast, and this is the resources I had at my disposal today. Um, I just have got out of a roundtable discussion on the topic of community development. It was self-sufficient communities through or self-sufficient families through regenerative communities. And I just want to emphasize a few things that came to my mind. I thought I'm fresh out of the meeting, and so it's on top of my thoughts, and I just wanted to kind of go over it and take advantage of the time that I had left over from the ending of that to shoot this out to you. So hopefully this is worth your time, and you have some context for where I'm coming from with this. If you've been following us for a while, this is not uncommon language. I'm sure you're familiar with it already. But I just want to point out a couple things. We as a people are really stuck in this mindset of trying to solve the immediate, trivial, mundane tasks instead of the greatest problems that plague us, that bring us all of these tasks to begin with. And for example, when you wake up in the morning, the top thought in your mind is go to work. Why? What is that priority one in our entire life is wake up, go to work? Why is it not wake up, be with my family? Why is it not wake up, reconnect with my loved ones? Why is it not wake up, nurture self? Like there's a lot of us that are in that mode of thinking where we plug into a morning routine. But 9 times out of 10, it's all about the work that we're trying to do to feed our family, to keep the house, to pay the insurance bill, the mortgage, the truck payment, whatever it may be. And I just want to reframe it a little bit. What if our focus was more on the individuals in our lives than the tangible things that we give them? What if our reality on a day in and day out thought process was actually oriented toward our family's ability to maintain agency? So, this is why we talk about the food, water, shelter, surplus, the 4 pillar system. Our 4 pillars are food, water, shelter, surplus, not because we want everybody to grow food and catch rain and do all these things, which is absolutely part of the equation, but actually because those 4 things are the fundamental needs for agency. If somebody else controls your food, then you have to go work for them. You're in bondage to them in order to get the food. If somebody else controls your water, then you're in bondage to them in order to get the water. Even if it's coming out of your hose and you're like, I'm not in bondage. I can walk outside and I can turn my hose on and I got water. Okay, well, what if you stopped paying them? What if you stopped paying the municipal bill? What if your garbage truck stopped coming? What if your grocery store stopped getting stocked with the routine truck deliveries? What if really you are in bondage to the fact that you have to get what you need from somebody else that's providing it to you? What if we realized that and we said, oh, actually, I don't like that. I don't like that reality. I'm not going to participate anymore. And we take home our resources, food, water, our shelter, and our surplus. We're producing a surplus. If we had, let's hone in on that a little bit more. If we had all of our family's food being grown within our food forest, our own property, let's say it's an acre, a half acre, a quarter acre, and then let's say that you have a big family, like I've got a family of 8. I can't provide all of the food that I need on a third of an acre for all of us unless I really maximize the space. And frankly, I'm not prepared to do that right now. So for me, it's not realistic today. But on my larger acreage, I absolutely can. And so what if I said right now in this small acreage, that's not reality. So instead, I take my 3/4 acre land and I produce a surplus from it that I can then use to barter and trade with a rural property, a friend, a family member, somebody that has a surplus that they're producing, like cow milk, meat, or barley, right? Whatever, flour. And you're getting that surplus to fill the gaps in your urban environment. Now you're self-sufficient because even the way that you get your surplus is coming from you. And now you have your home-based business, you have a export from your land. Now, let's say maybe that energy that you need to run your shelter actually creates itself from within your shelter. You have passive energy systems like a passive solar greenhouse, and I'm not talking about your solar panels. I'm talking geothermal energy. I'm talking sun's radiation reflecting through windows and capturing and moving that heat through your property, through your land, through your microclimates, right? And heating and cooling your house in the summer and the winter, all passively. And yes, you can do that. Now, what if we took all of those perspectives, these ideas, let's just say they're crazy ideas, right? Let's just say we funneled all those into four pillars. It'd be food, water, shelter, surplus. And you own the source of these four things. You own control. You are the boss of how these four things come about. Then what really do you need from anybody else? The chair I'm sitting in, totally, I could buy that from somebody else, but it's not needed. It's a luxury. The wall behind me, that's part of the shelter system that I built, I own, or I manufactured myself, right? From my own hands-on lumber, whatever your situation is. The desk over here, the books over here, all these can be items that I purchased from my surplus, and they're just cherries on top because my four pillars are met. I have food, water, shelter, and surplus. So now, if I live at that level of agency, if I have that level of self control, that level of self actualization, where I can move myself into whatever I want because I'm not bondaged, I'm not bound, I'm not in bondage, to receive the water that I need every day, a gallon of water a day, right? You're supposed to drink a gallon of water a day, right? I can wake up in the morning and I know that the water I drink is rain, not fluoridated municipal water with rich in chlorine. I can grab my rainwater and I can filter it through my charcoal filters and I can plumb that in and feed my entire family and feel confident that my water is healthy. I can feel pride drinking it and not have a background thought of, oh, I'm downing my daily dose of fluoride. So if all of this is part of our equation and we live at that level of freedom, food, water, shelter, and surplus, everything else is cherries on top. So our system, the reason we think like this is because it's freedom, it's agency. We're giving ourselves agency because right now we realize we have the agency to go outside and build a gutter system that can catch rain in a barrel. And so I'm just going to do it. And then I'm going to use that water to passively water my chicken. That takes my labor away from having to go and water my chickens. And now I have detached the chain of that maintenance requirement. I've relieved myself of that bondage. I have bees. I keep bees, so I have honey export. Now I can have my surplus of honey being sold at the local farmers market every Saturday, and I can now make money from my own means that I can then turn around and purchase cool things like my chair. Like there's all these little things that are just cherries. It's not needed, just cherries. So if we think like that, then let's go back to the beginning here. Think like that. You think like your goal is to live at that level of agency. Do you think you would wake up and your first thought would be, Bill clocks in at 12 o'clock and I got to flip that hamburger? Like, the assembly line's not going to run itself unless I'm standing there and pushing the green button and turning over whatever. Somebody's got to open the bakery door today, or I don't, whatever your profession is. I was a mechanic for like 6 years. I got underneath diesel trucks and I went through all the nitty gritty of working for different companies. And all this process of all these jobs are built on the back of demand. It's supply and demand. It's about the economy. It's about trying to fulfill somebody else's vision that owns that business. And you're set a cap. They set you a cap. They say, hey, I want all your time. I want 8 hours a day, 10, 12 hours, 13 hours. If you're a doctor, 30 hours. And let's say that you're not allowed to come and go freely during that time. As a matter of fact, your life force that you're spending in that 8 hour block is only going to be worth $12 an hour to me. I am not willing to pay you more than $12 an hour for your life force. And should you allocate it properly, we'll talk about 15. $15. Now, let's say you're a well-educated professional, or let's go with contractors. You make $50 an hour in the city, and you're doing good, and you're making money, and you're turning around going, you know what? I want to run my own crew. And my $50 an hour, 35, 25 when I started. Now I'm at $50 an hour. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm feeling confident. And you turn around and you look at all the work that you did, and you realize you built stuff. You built stuff. You actually have tangible results from your work all over the city. Walls, windows, doors, buildings, roads, all these things that we use in society daily by your hands. Your life force is tangibly visible. The results of your of allocating your life force in all these ways is tangibly visible. And a lot of contractors, I did this for a little while. I got caught up in this idea that my work was meaningless because it was mundane. It was like I would wake up, I'd go stain a deck, and I'd go home. Or I'd tear into some drywall, I'd frame a new wall, and then I'd go home. I'd wire my backyard shed, like little things like that I could do. I was more of a handyman than a general contractor. And I got my hands into all these different places, and I was like, you know what? I really don't like this. Frankly, it doesn't fulfill me. And so I unplugged from that, and I decided that I wanted to go and do something that was more gratifying. And I started to plant gardens and teach and educate. So now my income and my source of happiness and my fulfillment and my joy comes from actually duplicating my experience and my results into the lives of other people and sharing them freely with them. and and so now I look at my life in a different way. I look at things like my tangible results of allocating my life force for the 8-hour stretch is not worth $15. It's 15 other lives that I'm supporting. It's 15 other families that I'm currently engaged with, actively engaged with their life. It's a person to person exchange. It's not about my wall anymore. It's not about the roof anymore. It's not about the concrete or the road. And so while I do feel like there's degrees of things that are more fulfilling and more appealing and bigger impact in society, ultimately for me it came down to the reality that I should be waking up in the morning and saying to myself, who needs me today? What do I need today? I should be waking up in the morning and thinking, how are my kids today? What is my spouse actively engaged with right now? These kinds of thoughts change the trajectory of your entire year, not just your day. The domino effect of waking up like that is tremendous. Your life will never be the same. If you're trapped in the mundane tasks, the trivial things, and you're waking up in the morning and thinking, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go to sleep. My friend, this is your invitation to break free. You don't have to know how you're going to make money doing something else. You do not need to have all the answers on starting your own business. You don't need to understand tax laws. You don't need to be able to pay an attorney. You don't need to go through all the hoops of trying to become self-sufficient in your income. You can immediately start right now with a 5-gallon bucket outside full of rain and routinely go back to that bucket and move it and do something with that free resource, that free energy that you just captured. And then turn around and analyze and observe and realize, what if it was a bigger bucket? Or you know what? I really don't want to grow a whole garden, but I am obsessed with cayenne pepper. Grinding the pepper down to get into a powder and then taking the tablets has so many health benefits for me that I just want to grow my own pepper. I want to know that it's not coming from Roundup. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab all this pepper plants and I'm going to plant them in seeds in my little pot on my little counter. I don't need a full garden. I can just grow a few peppers. And then you realize later on when you come back and you look at this small and simple step and you observe and you think to yourself, actually, this is easier than I thought because maybe you waited 6 months or a year, but that small and simple step you started a long time ago and you were consistent with changed your pattern. We are habitual creatures. We wake up, we do something, we go to sleep. We wake up, we do something, and we go to sleep all day long, and then repeat, rinse and repeat. And so if you start a new habit, you start a new process, you start a new thought or paradigm adjustment, you cause an interrupt in what you're doing now, and you shift and you do something different. You change, you pivot, you change trajectory. The dominoes from that are massive. It changes everything else in your life. And it's very simple. It's very easy. You took a seed, I got a cup, I put some dirt in there, I put a seed in there, I watered it, and I set it on my window. And then every single day until it provided me peppers, every time I got a glass of water or I was at the sink washing dishes, I just grabbed it and rinsed it and put it back on the window. It took me 2 seconds. I was already at the sink. I didn't do anything new. I was already washing a dish or grabbing some water for something else. And so I just saw the cup at the window and I just grabbed it, I watered it, and I put it back. And I just did that every day until, oh my gosh, now there's peppers on this plant. And it may seem insignificant and small, but what's happening is you're creating a resource. You're starting to step out of the mundane ritual of life and systems and systematic approaches that this society has created for us, and you're looking at the world in a new way. You're seeing a resource. You're seeing something available to you, and you're stepping out and you're grabbing it and you're capturing it. You're creating a surplus. You're maximizing your surrounding environment, or maybe even obtaining a yield. Wow. Wow. What if everything you did obtained you a yield? What if you had such a big yield in food, water, energy, in your shelter, and a surplus you could produce, that not only were you self-sufficient at the scales of these four fundamental pillars, but you actually got to go out and duplicate it and tell your neighbor and their neighbor and their neighbor and their neighbor and this community and that community and this community until eventually all these communities and individuals and families around you became self-sufficient too. What if their four pillars were fundamentally acquired and agency reigned supreme in your community? We have this terrible idea that the municipal powers of society or government are the say all end all. They are the fundamental yes or no. You're not allowed to take a step in this particular direction unless you've been given approval. Why? Why? Did you know that they're people too? Did you know that the people that are making those calls are actually just like you? They're actually just like you. They're you in another job. Did you know that? So somebody had to type up the system, like the manuscript that they follow. Well, that was a person just like you that had to type it up. And then they just printed it or made it digital and put it in front of the next clerk. And now that clerk knows their job. And all they do is follow the manuscript. They follow the pattern. They follow the instructions of their job description. And then they just push the button. Just like you, waking up and going to work every single day, following your manuscript, following your job description, going home. They get a paycheck just like you. Now, what's interesting about this is that we put these people that have those particular jobs in city inspector or sewage treatment plants or water treatments, or maybe we have the government, the managing body, the mayor. These people are given this, like, do you know your name, the name of your local mayor? Do you know who they are and what their family stands for? Have you been in their house? Have you seen the photos and pictures on their wall? Do you know if they've got pictures of Christ or if they've got upside down crosses? Do you know if they have pictures of the American flag or the Quran? Or do you know if they're flying the liberal swing or the Constitution on the side of the wall? Like what's going on with that family? Do you know them? Did you know they're people just like you and they probably have photos on their wall? I'll get off my soapbox on this, but I want you to grab onto this and just realize for a minute they're just like you, which means you have power just like them. The only difference is whether or not you're willing to take advantage of the immediate surroundings in your vicinity. If you're capturing the resources that are available to you, if you're acquiring a yield, if you're stopping to observe what's going on in your life, if you're causing an interrupt to change things that don't serve you anymore and travel in a different trajectory, you get to choose right now if at the end of this video you're going to opt into a higher way of thinking, a higher vibration, or if right now you're going to click out and go back to Facebook, scroll more wall. Life is a choice every single day, and you have agency whether or not somebody tries to take it away. Now, every single second that you choose to continue in the same path forward for you, my friend, it is not going to change. So this is your invitation. Um, do something new. It's that easy. It's very simple. Choose not to pick up the phone as early as you usually do. Get off Facebook a little sooner. Do a recording like I am right now in this moment where I just improv decided to turn on my camera and upload it to YouTube. I had no idea I was going to talk about any of this, but it's important and it's worth sharing. Value your life and who you are and step out of your mundane rituals and jump into something new and exhilarating. Get actively engaged in a good cause. Let go of the mundane tasks of paying your bills and going through this ritual of wake up, go to work, go home, go to sleep, and take responsibility for those things that you are in your control and control them. Do it real and do it proud and do it in a position of authority over your life. Opt in for greater causes. So I had this friend that he was a good guy. He was a very good guy, but he was trying to create a vision board that would change his life for him. So I taught him for a 6-month course. We did vision board, or we went through a class called Visionary Mastery. It was one of my first mentorship courses I ever launched, and it was a 6-month program. And the whole idea was that we would imagine what we're trying to achieve. We would create the vision of ourselves achieving it. We would put it on the wall in visual of experience in front of us, and then we would manifest that with action steps, real tangible steps. When you didn't know what the next step was, you would look at the wall and get that visual trigger to go, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to achieve, because I got distracted by my old patterns. And so, oh yeah, constant visual trigger, visual reminder. See your vision board and go, okay, what was it? What was I doing? And then you grab onto that thought, give yourself a second to think about it and ask, what is my next step? Did I do the last one? How am I in my trajectory toward these goals? If you don't have something you're actively seeking in your life, you're not going to get to the same levels of life that you could otherwise. So I invite you, maybe take that opportunity, put a vision board on your wall, get yourself some declarations. I am who I am type of declarations. Stimulate yourself with senses of success and vibration and uplifting, and let go of the things that no longer serve you. The world's moving forward and you have an opportunity to move forward with it or leave it. And you're going to have to choose, because the world is no longer waiting for you. It gets better and better and better when you opt in full bore and you choose to live life to its fullest. I just had this conversation with my wife last night. We have this cool book where it talks. One of us reads off, a series of questions, and we answer yes or no, and what our beliefs are, and would we this or that, or blah blah blah. And all these cool questions are oriented toward helping us better understand each other. And it's just like this relationship journal. And in this moment, this conversation we were having, we talked about going over what it would look like if we opted in for something that was grander than ourselves and our families and grander than the immediate right now tasks and the trivial things, and created a more vibrant and imaginatory visionary life. And so now we're seeking these things actively. We're actively engaged with them. So, I mean, I don't want to keep going on my soapbox, but I just want you to understand that these are pivotal, incredible moments that you have to choose every single day. I call those particular kinds of things moments of impact. So when you get a moment of impact and you have that opportunity to choose left or right, think about your trajectory. Think about the goals on that board. Think about your mundane tasks and rituals. What do you want to change? What do you want new? And do it for you if you can't do it for anybody else. When you start doing it for you and you fill your own cup, then you'll start to realize that you're wanting to do it for other people. But then the moment that you feel like your cup is drained, you realize that you can't help anybody else. And so you got to fulfill yourself again. So live a life that's fulfilling. Opt in for things that you can choose higher, more vibrant, more imaginatory experiences, and let go of the mundane things that don't serve you. You get to choose. So, God bless. Have a great day.